First thing first, Australian travel restrictions, what's going on? The website you should be on every day or at least a couple of times a week is covid19.homeaffairs.gov.au. So we have latest updates on leaving Australia, immigration detention, regional visa, bridging visa, special category visa related to New Zealand citizens, seasonal worker, and working holiday maker visa, temporary skills shortage visa subclass 482 or temporary work skilled visa subclass 457. So we got updates on 8th Jan 2020 regarding all of the things that I said. So if you go to that website, click on each of them, you will see what those updates are. Very interesting information from this page on bridging visas. So if you're not familiar with different types of bridging visas, strongly suggest to read that. One thing I wanted to mention is about leaving Australia, in that you have non-citizens, for non-Australian citizens obviously, and temporary visa holders returning home. And these people who want to return home, if they can't have the finance to stay in Australia still or have a good reason to depart, they are encouraged to depart Australia by the government from last year, even though some people did not like that part where temporary residents were told to leave home. But if someone wants to leave home but wants to come back again, now they have to check every week border restrictions, availability of flights. And the fact that you can leave but you can't re-enter Australia is something you should obviously think about. And what in ideal situations you should do is you should get a permission to return first and then leave Australia to be safe. You have a pass to come back. So temporary visa holders in Australia can depart Australia at any time. However, they will generally not be permitted to return to Australia, is something that you should understand. Now, about Australians and permanent residents, they cannot leave Australia due to travel restrictions unless they have an exemption. And recently they are saying if you're leaving for 3 months, they could consider giving an exemption. But again, in this recent update, they're talking about you are traveling outside Australia for a compelling reason for 3 months or longer. So compelling reasons are expected to be provided as evidence to get that exemption. Recently, there is this discussion what happens, or in fact, there were cases where there was a death in the family, a parent or a family member overseas, and the Australian citizen and permanent resident wants to leave Australia immediately. And even they bought an air ticket, but they can't leave until they get permission. So in one of the cases, what they did was they applied for the exemption, obviously, and it's taking up to 48 hours to be granted. Sometimes you could get it sooner, and sometimes you could get it later as well, depending on the evidence you provide and depending on various factors which are beyond our control. So what this person did was he still didn't get the travel exemption, and he just went to the airport and spoke to the department there, and luckily he got the exemption and he flew. It's something that you could consider, but there is no guarantee that if you go to the airport you will get the exemption. Now they have given some information about travel for 3 months or longer. What is that they require, like StatDex, and they are talking about confirmed flight itinerary with written date of at least 3 months from departure date, confirmation of leave from employment for 3 months, enrollment confirmation for study if somebody is studying, a doctor's certificate to support your claim you're traveling in order to provide care for sick family members, any other matter you wish to raise in support of your request for an exemption. You should only travel if you have a compelling reason and it is essential you travel now, is what they're saying. And these are not normal times, and many people are getting frustrated because They need to show evidence as well, whether they have funds to pay the air ticket and whether they could do the quarantine again when they come back. And recently they're talking about even if you get vaccinated overseas, you'll still be asked to quarantine for some times until there is some certificate which is saying that you got vaccinated. The other questions that people are asking or the government is considering is if the vaccine is really going to stop the transmission or it will take a while, and how many doses that person has taken, which vaccine did that person take. Are all the questions that could be answered in a week's to month's time. The vaccination is expected to start in Feb 2021 in Australia. And India is starting on Jan 16, which is a few days from now. So it's interesting to see how they go with frontline workers first and then how long it takes for them to reach the general public. The next topic in this video is about the further stay waiver applications. There are visitor visa holders here and other visa holders who have got this condition further stay, no further stay condition, which means that they can't apply for another visa while onshore unless they get permission to do, which is a waiver. And normally they would go overseas and make another application or come back at a later point of time. But due to COVID, because they can't fly, they have applied these further condition waivers, and the department was pretty flexible. So this Freedom of Information document, FA 20/12/00670, is showing the number of no further waiver applications submitted since 20th of March 2020 to 13th of December 2020. So that's like 9 months time, you could say. 37,830 were the applications made and 36,613 were actually granted, which means a lot of them have been granted, you could say more than 99%, even though I did not calculate accurately. No number of them refused are only 12, and some of them might be still processing. The next one is about what if you have a baby when you have a 309 visa application processing. Obviously you're overseas, because if you're onshore because you have a partner who is a permanent resident or an Australian citizen or an eligible New Zealand citizen, you might be having options of getting permanent residence for the child or even citizenship for the child. But if you are a 309 visa applicant and your partner is a permanent resident and you're stuck overseas and you got a newborn baby, what will happen to the baby's visa? Now, normally in these circumstances, the baby is taken to be added in the application, and according to migration regulations, regulation 2.08, they're talking about application by newborn child, in which it is saying in one of the subclauses saying the child is taken to have applied for that visa. So the child could get the 309 visa as well in future. You can also have other options like applying a visitor visa for the child and then coming on shore and doing a child visa, or doing a child visa overseas. Or to make it very easy for you, just contact a registered migration agent like me and they'll do it for you. If you require immigration assistance or advice from me, simply go to my website sujittalks.com. Schedule a phone or a video consultation session. The next one is on the discussion about partner visas and parent visas, some of them, which could be granted onshore if the minister changes his mind and makes some changes in the migration law, where, for example, 309 visa applicant who is onshore can't be granted onshore. They have to leave Australia to get that partner visa. And during travel restrictions at Corona time, it's very hard for them to go. It's very expensive and it's risky health-wise as well. Now, last month, the department said that they are considering changing that partner visa requirements, the time of grant criteria for 309 visa applicants, and we would hear from them this month, Jan. We haven't heard yet. But recently, MP Julian Hill, who is a federal member for Bruce, he is campaigning. He was very vocal about partner visas for a long, long time, and he was vocal about parents' visas as well. He's saying, if you do it for partner visas, why can't you do it for parent visas? And the department's view is that parents are not considered as member of family unit, or in other words, family members, because normally family members mean spouse and children, not the parents. So there's this argument that why can't parents be considered as family members, because if parents are not considered as family members, who else can be, is another question. So there's a campaign going on, and we might see if the department just takes partner visas and parent visas and then tells them, okay, we could grant you visas even though you have applied overseas, and even though you are required to leave Australia, we will make those necessary changes so that you can stay in Australia and get that grant. But time will tell. There are campaigns in media channels as well. Recently, Channel 10 did a story on this parent visas, and Channel 7 did a story in December as well. You can look up those TV programs, and I strongly recommend you that you watch these programs, even though you're just after skilled migration 189, 194, 91. It's very important that you know about other visa subclasses and problems of other migrants as well, so that you will get a comprehensive view about Australian immigration. The last story in this video is about the cricket match, which recently finished the third test between India and Australia, played at SCG, Sydney Cricket Ground. And I've been reading articles about a racist thing that happened during the match. And this is an article from Cricket. This article is saying racism is actually in DNA of Australian cricket. And it is also saying that it's not just Australia, racism things, racial abuse during sports happen all over the world, including India as well. So this thing apparently happened to Indians, and we have to understand that Indians in India also have racism issues. Indians in Australia also have racism issues, sometimes from Australians, sometimes from our own Indians as well. Some Indians don't like Indians, which is a shame. They got citizenships and permanent residence, but they just don't like new Indians to come into the country there. So we have too many already. We don't want any more migration. So they just behave like someone else and don't know what's wrong with them. It's called reverse racism. Anyway, this article is talking about racism in general, and it condemns what happened with Australian cricket, and it is saying that a lot of things have to change in Australian cricket, and not just Australian cricket. This was written by Charlie Lewis, reporter at the Shuffle Diary. That brings an end to this video. My name is Sujit Pilar, registered migration agent here in Melbourne. You've been watching Sujit Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to my YouTube channel Sujit Talks. Click on that bell icon to get notified. And there are other places I am available: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're after immigration advice with me as a registered migration agent, simply go to my website sujittalks.com. Schedule a phone or a video consultation session to take it forward. Namaste.